Hello and welcome to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Carl Hunt, and today our guests include Northern Colorado head coach Ernest Collins Jr., Montana quarterback Dalton Sneed, and Stats Craig Haley. Let's take a look back at some highlights from this past weekend. Montana State defeated Northern Arizona 49-31. Northern Colorado beat Idaho 27-24. Montana clawed past UC Davis 45-20. Eastern Washington beat North Dakota 35-20. Idaho State topped Portland State 51-24, and Weber State defeated Northern Iowa 29-17. And Cal Poly beat Southern Utah 24-21. The Big Sky has 5 teams in the FCS Top 25 polls. In the Stats FCS, Weber State, Montana, UC Davis, and Eastern Washington are all ranked, with the Wildcats leading the way at number 4. In addition, Sacramento State, Idaho State, and Cal Poly are receiving votes. Big Sky Root Sports Offensive Player of the Week honors went to Montana quarterback Dalton Sneed. Northern Colorado cornerback Michael Walker was named the Defensive Player of the Week honoree, while Weber State's Doug Lloyd earned Special Teams Weekly honors. Remember, Root Sports is the official television partner of the Big Sky Conference. Weber State's 29-17 win over Northern Iowa closed out the Big Sky Missouri Valley Challenge Series. The Missouri Valley edged the Big Sky 6-4 to win the series this year. When we return, Northern Colorado head coach Ernest Collins Jr. will join us on the show. Stay tuned to This Week in Big Sky Football.
Big Sky men's and women's basketball championships are headed to Boise. Buy your tickets now for a fun-filled week with basketball for all to enjoy. Purchase your tickets today by visiting BigSkyInBoise.com. That's BigSkyInBoise.com.
We would like to welcome Northern Colorado head coach Ernest Collins Jr. to our show today. Coach, welcome and congrats on your Big Sky opening win over Idaho.
Oh, man, I appreciate it, man. It was long overdue, but I appreciate the congratulations, man. Our team, we fought hard, and I'm glad we came out on top with it.
Now, take us back through Saturday's game. What did your team do as the game went on to help you guys seal up that victory?
We talked all week about just trusting in each other and trusting the process and believing in one another. So, no matter what, down 10 at half, down 14 in the second half, we just kept trusting and believing in each other, knowing that if we just stuck to the process, we'd have a chance to come out on top. And so we just kept preaching it, man, all week. We kept preaching it all game. And, to our kids' credit, or should I say to our players' credit, they kept believing, man. They kept trusting in the process, and we found a way to get it done.
What do you think makes the Big Sky such an elite league?
Oh, because on any given day, man, I mean, anybody, can come up with a victory if they're playing on top of the game. And we got great teams in this conference, from, your usuals to your Eastern Washingtons and your Montanas and teams like that, all the way to the top, to the bottom of the spectrum, man. I mean, UC Davis came out of nowhere last year, and they're doing it again. So this conference is got tough opponents week in and week out, man. You got to come prepared every week. You can get beat, no question. And if you come prepared, you got a chance to win every week.
What is it about coaching that makes you so passionate about it?
Man, I just love being a part of young men's lives. Like we get a chance to be a small part of a young man's life for 4 or 5 years. And, I tell every young coach, if you're getting into this business and you don't want to deal with it, you don't love young people, and you don't love young people, especially at our level from 18 to 22-year-old, you're not going to last very long. And so I just love the fact that I get a chance to be a part of young man's lives and help them grow and help them, step into that role of manhood that he would have. And that's why I do it. I love that piece of it. Not growing up with my father in my life, with a male in my life on a consistent basis. Just to be that for a young man, whether he comes from a 2-parent, no parent, 1-parent home, just to be there for him for the next 4 or 5 years is an awesome feeling.
How do you instill in your players that their production off the field is just as important as their on-field performance?
Man, that part is really the easy part of it. Well, I won't say easy part, but it's the main part of it, because the on-the-field performance is, only 3 hours out of a week, or you look at it 20 hours out of a week. You're talking about your 3 days of practice and your preparation on Friday and the game on Saturday. But other than that, you're always just student. You're always just a young man, and so that's just get them to understand that I want you to be, whatever you want to call it, a dog animal when you step onto the field. But once you cross those white lines, you come back into civilization, as you will. Now it's time to be, it's time not to fit the stereotype of a football player. To be that young man that people only know that you're a football player because of how big you are. Other than that, man, you got to hold that honor, that integrity, that character. You got to hold that to the utmost because you're representing your family, your friends, and your team.
From a player to a coach, what is it about Northern Colorado that makes it such a special place?
I think it's that family atmosphere, man. We literally, it's not just about you being an athlete. A lot of programs, a lot of people will preach about, you're a student first, athlete second, and they care about you. We try to live that out here, man. You are a student athlete. You are a student first before athlete, and we try to preach that out, man. My number one goal is to prove that you can be an upstanding, great young man with character and go out and win football games as well. And so, it's taking us a while to prove that, but we're getting there. Our guys are graduating. They're here are the guys' names in the paper and things like that. Now it's time to start winning some football games.
Now, you guys will play at Northern Arizona this Saturday. What is it about playing at elevation that makes it a lot different than playing at sea level?
For us, we play at elevation. We practice at elevation, so it's really not a big deal for us. But when you're talking about teams that come from sea level and they come up to elevation, it takes a while to get your lungs adjusted. It's that shortness of breath, the thin air, all that type of stuff. But for us, we're already a mile high, almost a mile high anyway, so it really doesn't affect us that much because we play in it all the time. But for those teams that are leaving, from sea level going up to elevation, it can be a little bit, it can be an adjustment for them, should I say.
All right, thanks for joining us on our show today, Coach. Good luck in your game at Northern Arizona this Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific time.
No problem. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll be back shortly with our next segment of This Week in Big Sky Football.
My Place Hotels is proud to be the official hotel of the Big Sky Conference. Need a hotel for work or just a night away? With over 50 hotels open and more on the way, we want to be your home away from home. Let My Place be your place. Enroll in our new loyalty program and stay rewarded.
Next up on This Week in Big Sky Football is Montana quarterback Dalton Sneed. Thanks for joining us on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Dalton is the reigning back-to-back Big Sky Root Sports Offensive Player of the Week after leading Montana to a 45-20 road win over number 4 UC Davis. Congrats on that win, Dalton.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Talk to us a little bit about that game and how you and the offense were able to control the game and come away with a win.
I think just started with our offense coordinator, Coach Rosie, and the game plan that he had for us. We had a great game plan going in and kind of had a good idea of what they were trying to do schematically on defense, and we were able to attack it and turned out great for us.
You and your teammates are 4-1 this season. Looking back at the 4 wins, what has clicked for you guys in those games for you to come out on top?
I would say just execution, and as simple as that sounds, guys are just doing their 111th every play. Everybody on the offensive line is doing a phenomenal job, doing their job and creating holes for the running backs, and everyone's making the plays that need to be made when their number's called. The ball's in the air, the receivers are attacking it and going and getting it, and like I said, everyone's just doing their job, and it's been great for us.
Big Sky play can be tough when going up against different defensive schemes every week. How do you stay prepared week by week?
Just knowing the defense. It takes a lot of film work from everybody and knowing the opponent and the tendencies that they bring and just being able to counter its best to your abilities in offense. So definitely just the film work and knowing what the defense is trying to do to you to stop you.
How would you say you've grown as a quarterback since your arrival on campus last season as a transfer?
I would say the ability to read the defense and knowing what they're trying to do on given plays and their front and how that dictates the coverage and blitz keys and stuff like that. So definitely just being able to read the defense and understand what they're trying to do.
What's been one of the craziest games for you so far as a Grizzly?
Ooh. Probably Northern Iowa, our home opener last year. They were ranked pretty high, and we were an unranked team. And seeing it was my first experience inside Washington Grizzly Stadium, and my first game as a Grizzly was just super memorable and kind of a shock because I didn't realize the energy that our stadium brought, and it definitely rings true that it's one of the great stadiums here in college football, and just an awesome experience.
Now, you started your college career at UNLV and then went to Fort Scott Community College before transferring to Montana. What made you choose Montana as the school you wanted to continue your college career at?
Originally, the coaching staff, just with Coach Hauk and Coach Rosie, they were the ones that originally had recruited me to UNLV before the coaching changed. So I'd already had a great relationship with them. And then upon talking to them, once they extended a scholarship offer, I really didn't know anything about Montana or the tradition and the I guess, community involvement and how much they really cared about Grizzly football until I got up here. But if I had known that they're so passionate about football up here and like I said, the tradition they have, it would have been even more of a no-brainer to come here knowing that.
Now, when kids are growing up playing football, they try to model their game after a professional player. Is there anybody that you've modeled your game after?
Not very much. I've always looked up to Tom Brady, just being how successful he is, and being that he was kind of the underdog coming out of college, and no one really believed in him to be the quarterback that he is today. But definitely, just now that I am where I'm at, I still look to him not as much as his play on the field, but more so how he approaches the game off the field and how he takes care of his body and everything that he does and his leadership abilities and things like that.
So what makes the quarterback position a special one for you?
I would say just the leadership that is involved with it, and what it takes to not only from a physical standpoint, but a mental standpoint and understanding that you're kind of the coach on the field when you guys are out there and the guys are looking to you. And I just like having that role of guys instilling their trust in me to lead the offense and put points on the board for our team to win the game.
How did you get your start in football? What drew you to it?
Probably watching it at a young age. I mean, I started tackle football at 6 years old. I remember seeing a waiver at my elementary school that you could now play tackle football at 6 years old, and I immediately grabbed one and ran home to my dad and said, I want to play. And my love for the game has just grown year by year, but it definitely started at a young age from just throwing football around with my dad in the backyard and watching football on TV every chance I had.
All right, that's Montana quarterback Dalton Sneed. The Grizz play host to Idaho State this Saturday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time at Washington Grizzly Stadium. Thanks for joining us on the show, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me.
Pluto TV is your one-stop shop for Big Sky action. The leading free internet television service in America will stream live sporting events including up to 700 football, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, and selected soccer, softball, and track and field events. Simply go to Pluto TV to find games from several different sports. Pluto TV is your one-stop shop for all Big Sky action.
It's time for the one and only Craig Haley from Stats to join us on our show. We're heading into week 2 of conference play, and our blood pressure is still rising. How are you doing this week, Craig?
I'm doing well. Hearing the words conference play, that's always exciting.
Now, Montana was selected as the Stats FCS Team of the Week. What did you see during that game that shows that the Grizzlies are not the same team they were last year?
They're a much more complete team, Carl. I mean, sure you have, Sneed and Olsen, they're the players who grab the headlines, but they're getting contributions across the board, and that includes even special teams. You know, I'm pretty sure the Grizz lost 4 times last year when they led in the fourth quarter of a game. This year, they've only allowed 14 points in the fourth quarter and just 1 touchdown against their 4 FCS opponents. So I think they're putting teams away, and you're doing that with a complete team effort.
Last week we mentioned that it looks like Montana and Montana State are just finding ways to win. The way the Bobcats were able to come back from being 21 points down to Northern Arizona was quite remarkable. What did you see from Montana State in the first and second halves?
You know, they sustained drives better in the second half, you know, especially with their run game, which is what they want to do. I mean, getting those 2 late touchdowns in the second quarter, that kind of made them wake up, and you know, it just continued into the second half. I mean, you go back to that Montana State win over the Grizz last November. You know, they were down 22-0 in that game. I think this group clearly knows how to overcome deficits. They keep a calm composure. That's a good sign for success. So I think they just took the game after letting Northern Arizona dictate it for a while.
Weber State will finally get a chance to play a conference game with the matchup at Idaho. It's going to be in the same dome that Eastern Washington fell at 2 weeks ago. What's the key for the Wildcats and the Vandals this week?
Good question. I think it may be the line of scrimmage. I mean, you probably favor Weber with that, you know, especially with those terrific DNs that they have. But, you know, strong line play is kind of a key for a team, you know, generating offensive balance. And it takes so much pressure off the quarterback. I mean, in this game, do we see the Mason Petrino that we saw against Eastern 2 weeks ago, or the Mason Petrino who threw 3 interceptions last week against Northern Colorado? I mean, same thing goes for Jaden Jenks of Weber. I mean, he was terrific against Northern Iowa in their win last week, but struggled, you know, against Nevada. So I just think if you win the line of scrimmage, it makes it so much easier for your quarterback, and it should be a fun game.
Sacramento State has been receiving votes for a few weeks, and this week they host Eastern Washington. Talk a little bit about that matchup.
I'll tell you, you know, I think Eastern's defense better come to play because Sacramento State's offense is just so good with Kevin Thompson, and then you have you know, Elijah Dotson and others. I mean, this is a track meet, and really Eastern Washington is the one that has to slow it down by running the ball. I mean, Sac State's Big Sky schedule is a bear going forward when you look at it. But this game, you know, coming off a bye, I think they're really geared up for it, and I think they've been pointing at this one.
Montana finally cracked the top 10 for the first time in years. How does this ranking help lift the spirits of the Montana fans?
You're right. First time in the top 10 since 2016, and the first time in the top 10 alongside Montana State since 2014. You know, I don't think anybody connected to the program should get ahead of themselves. It's a terrific start. But we can all just sort of, you know, do a status check after this UC Davis road win, and we can confidently say, yeah, you know, they're headed back to big things under Bobby Houck, and what a difference he makes when he's in Missoula.
Dalton Snead, Case Cookus, and Jake Mayer, these are 3 quarterbacks that are just shining as we expected them to this season. What's the key for any of them to be the best in the Big Sky at the end of the season?
The quarterback play in the Big Sky is ridiculously good. I mean, you have those 3, you have others. I think people around the league notice when a quarterback lifts his team. You know, everybody's going to have those big stats at the end of the season. But how that translates to team success, I think that's the question that people look to, and that's always the key when you're looking at season-ending awards. I just think it's an unbelievable year for Big Sky quarterbacks.
Matt Struck of Idaho State threw 6 touchdown passes last week. The Bengals have quite a few options in Tanner Goller, Michael Dean, and Tanner Connor. Do you think that the offensive quartet can help Idaho State down the line?
Yeah, you know, don't forget Ty Flanagan, you know, at running back. I mean, they're clearly a different team when Matt Struck is healthy and playing a full game under center. You know, maybe they win at Northern Iowa if he had played. He just has so many offensive weapons to drive a defense crazy with. It's fun to watch. I really think Idaho State is one of the more intriguing teams across the whole FCS. they can be really good, but they need consistency. Rob Fennessy has added that in recent years, so third year now coaching. They just need a little more consistency. But I think people don't have a pulse on what kind of team they are, and I just think it's going to be fun to see how they develop, especially with this offense that you mentioned.
Now, the past few weeks have shown a heavy favorite is what would be the game of the week. But this time around, there are quite a few games that could surprise fans. Which one is on your radar?
You're right. This is a fun week, and just as we mentioned before, conference play is so fun. I mean, most of the heavy hitters here in the league are on the road. I mean, Weber at Idaho we mentioned, and then there's Montana State at Cal Poly is a dangerous matchup. Eastern at Sac State. UC Davis on the road against North Dakota. Montana's home. I mean, that's against Idaho State. A lot of games. My game of the week is that Eastern Washington at Sacramento State game. I mean, there's little margin for error with the Eagles as far as their playoff hopes are concerned. Like we said last week, their playoffs are going on right now if you're an Eagles fan. So that's my game of the week.
All right, that's Craig Haley of Stats. Thank you, Craig, for joining us, and always have a great day.
Carl, I appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the games all weekend.
Big Sky fans, make sure you download the Pluto TV app on your smartphone, tablet, or TV and check out our new channel lineup in the 500s. Number 12, UC Davis at North Dakota. Number 4, Weber State at Idaho. Southern Utah at Portland State. Northern Colorado at Northern Arizona. And number 6, Montana State at Cal Poly can all be watched on Pluto TV this week. The Root Sports Game of the Week features Idaho State at number 8, Montana. Kickoff is slated for 1 p.m. Mountain Time at Washington Grizzly Stadium. The 11 Sports Game of the Week that can also be watched on Pluto TV will showcase number 22, Eastern Washington at Sacramento State. Game time at Hornet Stadium is scheduled for 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Thanks again to Northern Colorado head coach Ernest Collins Jr., Montana quarterback Dalton Sneed, and Stats Craig Haley for joining us on the show today. And as always, enjoy this week in Big Sky football.